Portugal.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show live stream and podcast. How are you this morning? Tudo bem? Como estás? Let's see how you've been doing this weekend. Let us know in the chat, please, if you will. James is already in. He'll join us at 9 o'clock, of course, this morning. Vitor Costa from the north will join us at 9:30. He's got a very exciting new language course that he and Maria have been working on. And, of course, she was meant to join us on Friday, but she couldn't be here. But Filomena, over the weekend, said to me, can I come and talk about the Carnation Revolution and those grammatical and vocabulary-based Portuguese words we were going to talk about on Monday morning? Of course, the answer is always yes to Filomena. Here she is. Let's bring her onto the screen. Hola, bom dia, tudo bem?
Olá, bom dia a todos e uma boa semana.
Boa semana on this segunda-feira, Monday morning. Look at us on a Monday morning at 8:30. Bright and breezy, eh, Filomena? How was your weekend?
Well, my weekend was quite stressful.
Dear, of course, yeah.
Because my husband was taken to hospital. That's why I couldn't do the show.
Yeah.
Because it was exactly at 8:30 on Friday that I had to call 112. And he has been taken to hospital, but he's better now, a lot better now. Yeah, right. So maybe he will come home, maybe back today or maybe tomorrow if things keep on well.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. So Paolo's making a good recovery. And his empty plates seem to be saying so too, because I think they starved him, didn't they, for a couple of days just to do tests?
For 2 days, yeah. For 2 days, he couldn't eat anything.
Yes.
So when he got a meal, finally, he ate everything.
He did. It was just an apple core left. Empty plates and just a little apple core like from a cartoon. Now, the food looked fairly good. Can I ask you about that? I mean, he looked like he'd had a proper cooked meal in a Portuguese hospital there. Do you think the food's good?
Yes, yeah. He said that so far everyone has been wonderful with him. Everyone was kind. Everyone, and everything. He said everything was good. He is in a room on his own as well. So he says that he is a VIP.
Great. Oh, I'm so glad to hear it. Quite right too.
So is under the circumstances, he's happy with the treatment he had. And and once again, because 2 years ago he was in the same hospital, but luckily it was not as serious as we thought that it might be. So he's recovering.
Good. Well, please send him our very best wishes from the Gumpers, the Good Morning Portugal community. Pete leading the way there with a fantastic Portuguese greeting. And, of course, Dalia os nossos cumprimentos. Send him our best, please.
I will, Pete.
From James as well. All my best to you and your husband, Filomena. You'll see James briefly.
Obrigada.
James will be on at 9, so there'll be a little bit of a crossover, I hope, because he loves to.
Yeah, good. I love James.
Yes, don't we all? Mindful Migration Monday with added Filomena this morning. And thank you so much for offering to catch up with what we missed out on Friday. Really appreciate that, Filomena. Which is, of course, the iso, isto. There are a few words, aren't there? Prepositions, I think they are, aren't they? Is that right?
They are. No.
What are they? Articles?
No,
not articles.
No.
I'll stop guessing. You tell me.
They are what is called demonstrative pronouns.
I knew that.
Demonstrative.
Demonstrative pronouns. First thing in the
Demonstrative.
morning.
Because demonstrative, because you are demonstrating, you are showing something when you
Yes.
say this, that, those, you know, you
Yeah.
are demonstrating, you are showing. So that's why it's demonstrativos.
Demonstrativos. There you go. In the
Yeah.
Portuguese. Fantastic. Okay. All right. So should we do those first? And then we were going to talk on Friday, weren't we, about the Carnation Revolution? Because
Yes,
we're
we
getting
can.
close now, 10 days away.
Yeah, and I just have some advices what you could do to follow the celebrations,
Marvelous.
and some guided tours in Lisbon as well. If you are interested in
Excellent.
a guided tour, not in in the whole city, of course, but
Right.
in the place where Marcel Caetano. So when the, let's say, the government, he took cover there, and
Yes.
he surrendered. So you
Yes.
can have a guided tour in the same place where he was.
Yes. Now, people think, don't they, imagine that Salazar was overthrown at that point, but he'd gone already, hadn't he? By the 20th.
He had passed he had passed away 2 years before.
Yes. So the incumbent was Caetano, who was leading the country.
Marcel Caetano, yeah.
Marcel Caetano, in those awkward times that led to this incredible velvet revolution that is known around the world as a good example of how to have a revolution here in Portugal. So we'll come back to that. So should we do these demonstrativos then?
Demonstrativos. So let's go to the demonstrativos. Well, I'm going to write for you to show first. Isto, isso, and aquilo. Okay, let's focus on these three first.
Yeah. Okay.
Isto, isso, and aquilo. Because these demonstratives, they can be unchangeable, like these ones are the ones that never change. They are always in that form. And then we are going to speak about the others that can be masculine and feminine. But this is no gender, right? These are referring to, let's say, no gender. And starting with the translation, isto means this. So you speak about something that is near you, right? You say, what is this? Or I want this.
That's the important one for me. That's why I was so
this.
interested. Yeah, but I'm in a cake shop. Is this a padaria?
But then you have isso for that, and aquilo also for that. So what is the difference between isso and aquilo if both mean that?
Yes.
Isso, you are referring to something that is not near you, but it's near the person you are speaking to. So imagine that I'm speaking about something that you have near you, like one of your plants, your lovely plants there. And then I could say isso, right? Referring to that is near you. But then if I say aquilo, I'm referring to that over there that is far away from me and from you. Okay? Parece muito isto e aquilo.
So that if I am pointing at a cake, that is going to cause problems.
A cake?
Yes.
Why?
Like it's not because it's not very far away. It's just right there.
A kilo.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you also have kilo. It's a kilo, right? A kilo of something. Kilo.
A kilo of cake.
A kilo. Yeah. But so that is according to the distance, let's say.
Yes.
So you say isto near you, isso near the other person, and aquilo, which is that over there, far away.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
And far away doesn't mean that it's very far away. It's just it's not near me. It's not near you, right? It's not near us. So and in these three words that I said, no gender, you are just saying what is this, or what is that, or that is lovely, or this is so beautiful, or that is very expensive. So you are not saying what. You are not referring to this house or those flowers, or you are just saying this or that. So because of just saying this or that, you use the no gender, let's say, demonstratives. So the unchangeable, invariáveis in Portuguese, demonstrativos invariáveis. They do not change.
Great word. Right.
Okay, sorry. So then you have the other ones that are variáveis. They are changeable. So they can change because they can be masculine or feminine, singular or plural, because you can say this house, those houses, so these cars. So you have several forms. So let's start with the masculine. So these three words in the masculine are going to be este, esse, and aquele. So these three, este, esse, aquele, are this, that, and that, but in the masculine form. So you can say, for example, este carro é muito bonito, for example. This car is very beautiful. Or eu queria esse bolo. I would like that cake near you. Or eu queria aquele aquele bolo. I would like that cake over there.
This is very helpful. Thank you.
So in that case, you are saying, you are referring to something that is masculine, and you are mentioning the word. So you say this cake, that cake over there. So bolo is a masculine word. Even when the person might say, which cake would you like? And if you want to say that one, if you say that one, then you have to say esse, because, or aquele, because you are saying that one, meaning that cake. So you are referring to the cake. So you have to use the masculine form. Okay? So that is the masculine. Este, esse, aquele. And you have the plural, just with the s's at the end. It's the same word, but with the s's at the end. So you have estes, esses, and aqueles. For these, those, near the other person, or those over there. So, yeah, estes, esses, and aqueles. These, those, and those over there. And you use these words when you are referring to something masculine. Even if you want to say these ones or those ones. Because if you say in English, when you say ones, you are referring to, for example, the cakes or something, right? So you have to say in the masculine form. Then let's go to the feminine version. So you have esta, essa, and aquela. Those words, so these words, esta, essa, aquela, it's this, that, and that over there. It's always the same, but in the feminine form. Esta, essa, aquela. And again, you can say esta casa, or for example, de quem é esta casa? Whose is this house? Or essa flor é muito bonita. That flower is very beautiful near you. Or I can say aquela janela está aberta. That window over there is open. Aquela janela. Aquela janela está aberta. That window over there is open. Okay. So with esta, essa, aquela, this, that, and that over there, you are referring to something feminine. Even if you say this one or that one. Is
Sorry.
everything okay with you?
Yes. I was sipping on my coffee,
Yeah.
and you know, sometimes
Eerste café.
this
Eerste
cafe,
café.
and
Right.
you know, sometimes the milk turns into a little milk slug that
Mm.
hangs out. These said
Okay.
soon as mended. I'll move on.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Anyone who had to witness that.
No. So, you, as I was saying, the esta, essa, aquela is also referring to this one or that one or that one over there. Yes, no accents, because this is not está. If you have an accent on the last A, it's the verb. It has
Oh,
nothing to do with the demonstratives. It means está means is, right?
yes.
Usually, or are if it's como está, how are you? But está is the verb. But also speaking about pronunciation, well, let's just finish with the plurals as well on these ones. Estas, essas, and aquelas. Aquelas. So just to finish these words, estas, essas, and aquelas, meaning these, those, and those over there. So those are these, those, and those in the feminine word, in the feminine version. So you can have, as I said, the masculine or the feminine, the singular or the plural. So in a short summary, isto, isso, aquilo, if you have the I written with an I, it's no gender, okay? With an I, isto, isso, aquilo, they all have an I. So if you have an I, no gender.
Okay.
If you don't have the I, if you have
Can we have an example? Because one of the rules we learn in Portuguese is that everything is gendered. So in this case, when is it not? What would be an example of not being gendered?
Okay. O que é isto? In the question, what is this?
Oh, because you
O
don't
que é
know yet.
isto?
You don't know what.
You don't
gender
know
it
what
is.
that is.
Ah, okay.
So,
Yeah,
o
yeah,
que é isto?
Yes.
Or you could say, isto é muito caro, for example.
Yeah. So when it's
If you are in the
at this
Algarve,
point,
for example.
unknown.
If you are in the Algarve, you say, isto é muito caro. This is very expensive. But if I'm not if I'm not near you, I don't know what you are speaking about, do I?
Right. No, fair enough. Fair enough.
So if you say this is very expensive, but you are not saying this flat is very expensive, or this cake is very expensive, or this tea is very expensive. I don't know what you are speaking about, because you are just saying this is very expensive, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You are not referring to any noun. You don't have a noun there. You just have this, and then you have a verb, right?
Yep.
Isto é muito caro.
Mhm.
So in that case, you don't refer to any gender, because it's just this, that over there, and then you have a verb. You don't say any noun, right?
Yep. Okay.
In terms of pronunciation, the difference between the these in the masculine and these in the feminine, you pronounce it differently. And let's start with the very beginning, with he and she. So the word il and the word ela. They don't, the first E, lots of people think that the first E is pronounced the same. It's not. Because the first E is already different. If it's a masculine or a feminine, you start in a different way. So let's go to our open and closed vowels again.
Ready?
Yeah, you start exercising your muscles.
I
am. So you say il, you close the first
Eel.
E and it's E. Let's focus on the E. E, E, E. Il,
Il.
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 Muito bem, Carlitos.
Obrigado.
Then, if you want to say the feminine, then you open your vowel. You open the E and you say ela.
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 Yeah, very
Yep.
good. Muito bem. So let's say both. Let's say both words. Ele, ela.
Ela. Ela.
Repeat, please.
Ela.
Ele,
Ela.
ela. Ele, ela. Let's go again. Ele, ela.
Ela. Ela.
Ele,
Ela.
ela.
Ela. Ela. Ela.
Okay, so the vowel in the masculine form is a closed vowel. It's il. Right?
Ela. Ela.
Then the feminine is an open vowel. Ela.
Ela.
And it happens the same now if we focus on the masculine and the feminine of this.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Come in.
So
Yep.
if you put both words there, please,
Just come in.
because
On the way. There we go.
I don't want to be distracted by Pete's comments. So
No, nobody does, do they? Nobody wants that.
so on this one, you have to remember close when it's masculine. So you say este,
Este.
open when it's feminine. Esta, esta.
James is doing it in the background. Good man, James.
Este. Oh, James knows it. I'm sure James is an expert.
Yeah,
So,
teacher's pet.
este and esta.
Esta.
So you see,
Esta.
this happens in every masculine and feminine. So you say este, esta, esse, essa, aquele, aquela. The E always changes.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to repeat everything. Este,
Esta.
esta, esse,
Essa.
essa,
Essa.
aquele,
Aquela.
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 Now the plural. Estes,
Estes.
estas,
Estas.
esses,
Esses.
essas,
Essas.
aqueles,
Aquelas.
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 Muito bem,
It's
Carlitos.
like being in My Fair Lady, isn't it? By Jove, I think he nearly got it there.
Muito bem, Carlitos. Muito bem.
Obrigado.
So, this is important. The pronunciation, I think, is important for when you, of course, I mean, even if you make a mistake, if you use the wrong version, masculine or feminine, people will understand you. Yeah. But if you want to be correct, you should pronounce the E differently. So the closed E for the masculine, the open E for the feminine version. And this also happens in other words. The possessives, for example, if you say, if you don't mind writing that on the screen, dil and dela, his and her, so the possessives, you also have the same difference. So dil and dela. You close dil, the sound is e. So dil and dela.
Yep.
So this happens in every masculine, feminine, right? Masculine, feminine. Ele, ela, dele, dela, este, esta, etc.
We love the rule, don't we, James? We love a rule.
So, yeah, I'm sure James knows it. Okay, a few months ago.
It took an hour. After
Yeah,
an
a
hour,
whole night
only
explaining
my
this
only bit
topic.
of Portugal language I've
Ma-
got. Bless you, Deagle. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. Well, we will. I'll make a segment of this. So,
Yeah.
I think a useful thing to do is to have it playing in the background. So I'll
Mhm.
make sure this is available to people as well. So
Yeah.
thank you, Filomena, for that.
Okay. Well,
I'm not sure if you want to say any more on that before we move on to the Carnation Revolution.
well, we don't have much time, so I think
do.
it's enough. I think it's enough, isn't it?
Okay. Good morning
And
to you, Squire.
if people want to ask anything, they can always text you or text me, and then I will add something next time.
And we will see you again, of course, on regularly on a monthly
Yeah.
Friday.
This last Friday was the first Friday ever in over 3 years, right?
Amazing, isn't it?
That we couldn't do the show together.
But here you are this morning. It's amazing. It's amazing. And we did. There was a gentleman who was upset not to hear about the Carnation Revolution because they couldn't find anything about the celebrations and wanted to find out more from
Yeah,
us.
that's why. Okay, let me write to you the site where people should go to. Okay?
While you're doing that, Filomena, I'd
Yeah.
like to bring James into the conversation. Now, he
Cool.
can't come onto the screen until his theme music is played. That's the, I think
Oh, okay.
now a Portuguese law. So we'll be right back after this with Filomena and James this morning. Look at this.
Olá, bom dia, Filomena.
Olá, James. Bom
Tudo bem,
dia.
meu amigo?
Now, you can help me, Filomena. Sometimes I don't hear somebody. It's not that I don't understand, I just don't hear them. How do I tell them that without sounding rude? Like what?
Diga.
Yeah, you can just say, pode repetir, por favor? Pode repetir.
Pode repetir.
Oh
Well,
man, it's always a long
well-
sentence.
Is it rude? Is it rude to
No,
say
you could
diga?
just say como. Como.
Okay.
That's
Como?
useful.
Okay.
That's
It's
useful.
the easiest way. Como.
I've also heard some people say diga.
Diga.
But I
Diga,
don't-
yes,
does that
yes,
work as well?
diga.
Okay.
Yeah, you can
Well-
say, yeah. Because if you say diga, you are just saying, tell me again, right?
Okay.
Diga. But
Okay.
but yes, you can say diga or como.
All right.
I think
And
I
a
think
friend of
people in
mine
shops
even
do that, don't
I
they?
think he says I don't know that it's accurate, but he uses repetir.
Repetir,
Or
repeat. Repita, repita.
sí.
Yeah, repita, repita, por
Por favor,
favor.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, repita,
All right,
por
so
favor,
now
or repita, por favor.
I've tripped over that one many times because so often it's the ambient noise, so I can't
Yeah,
hear.
yes.
And I
Yes,
may
of-
also not understand, but I don't know if I understand yet or not because I didn't even hear you, right? So,
Yeah, but you can just say como or diga,
okay.
por favor. But,
Okay.
yeah.
Obrigado.
Can we just
De
say
nada.
goodbye to Tom? Tom, look, bom dia desde o aeroporto de Lisboa. I thought I would check in on my way home. God bless you, Tom, and boa viagem. Safe journey home. It was
Boa
great
viagem.
to see you. I thank you for the wonderful hospitality, and I hope to be back soon. I think that's a general thank you to all of Portugal. I think he's had a swell time. And look at this, Filomena. Tom, he said, I've got a present for you. You'd love this. These are Portuguese phrases.
Oh,
Look at this. This
lots of material.
Yeah, just commit that to memory tonight, and then
These
you'll
are
have
like-
it all down
these
for
are like
tomorrow.
my new placemats. They're laminated. They're so thoughtful, and there's all
Very
sorts
good.
of contributions.
So
And I
now-
can as my placemat while I'm eating.
Now you don't have any excuse, Carl.
Aprender e comer. Well, what a lovely. I don't think we've ever had this lineup on the screen. This is like seeing, one of those lovely constellations in the sky, seeing James and Filomena on the same screen on a Monday morning. So, how lovely that you're both here. Thank you very much for coming back, Filomena, and to have this conversation about the 50th anniversary of the Carnation Revolution. And you've given
And
us
I'd like to personally thank you, Filomena, because I did not know about the pronunciation on esta and esta. Those subtle little
you're
sounds. I didn't know the first E. I knew which was which, I didn't
Yes.
realize there was a difference in the pronunciation. So that
Yeah,
was very helpful today.
when thank you. When you read it, when you study and you read it, and you know, if you don't listen to it, it's normal that you don't know the difference. But because also sometimes, even when I tell people, okay, this is a different sound, and I say both, and people go, I can't see the difference.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
but
not unusual in my experience. The
yeah,
Portuguese
because
don't, they go, it's so obvious. Why can't you hear it? We're going,
yeah.
what?
But
What's the difference?
but because you don't have so many different sounds, for us it's obvious, as you said, it's obvious
Yes.
that it's another sound, because it's a difference between e and e. It's obvious. But because you are not used to listening to such a wide range of sounds, for you it's not obvious, because for you it seems the same, it's almost
Yeah.
the same sound.
Yes.
But yes, that is a characteristic of the Portuguese language. It's a huge a very wide range of sounds.
Sounds,
Hmm.
yes.
We didn't
And that's
grow up
where
with it.
Antonio's use of tuning your ear. He said, you just haven't tuned your ear yet, James. I said, that's brilliant. Because it's a fine tuning sometimes.
Yeah. Yes. And you have to listen. I think the key is listening and listening and listening and listening. The more
Mhm.
you listen, the more you learn the proper way to pronounce, of course.
Yes. And sometimes I hear a difference, but I attribute it to an accent, like a
Hmm.
regional difference in how
Yeah,
they say a
sometimes,
word, right?
sometimes there
As
is.
opposed
Yeah,
to
there is.
a rule.
Yeah. So, for example, if it's a person from the north or a person from the south, there are slightly differences, but you know, it's natural in a country, even in a small
Yes.
country, in a small country like us.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we haven't grown up with those sounds, have we? So you're absolutely right to immerse and to put the TV on to listen to the conversations.
Hmm.
Pam was saying this. She was saying, you know, she lived above a health center, and she would tune into the conversations, a kind of a permissible eavesdropping, just to
Hmm.
hear what's being said, and that
Yeah.
complements. Doesn't it? There's the technique, there's the theory as you've given it to us, and then it's really important to hear people speaking the language, and then
Yeah.
it kind of, I think that helps it fall into place much better, doesn't it, when you hear it, when the rubber's hitting the
Yes.
road, as it were.
Well, and
Yeah.
it helps me, like given a lesson like this, now I can listen for that sound where I
Yes.
Mhm.
may not have been hearing it before. So I can tune in. I can tune into that sound difference. So that's very helpful to
Yeah.
know what it is. So then you can listen for it.
Hmm.
Well, I'm so glad the three of us are on the screen, and on this special occasion, the auspicious moment, not only you two on the screen, but the upcoming celebrations. This is a once in a lifetime thing for us, lucky enough to be moving to and living in Portugal, to be celebrating alongside the Portuguese 50 years since the Carnation Revolution, 25th of April 1974, of course. What would you like to tell us about this, Filomena?
Yeah, if you look at that site,
Yep.
50anos25abril.pt,
Yeah.
if you look it up there, and then you can find lots of information. Okay, maybe the information is in Portuguese,
Well, good
but
homework. It's homework.
but but you can always learn something reading in Portuguese.
There you
And
go.
yeah, so celebramos 50 vezes todos. So of course, it's the 50th anniversary. But I would like to refer to the English guided tours in Quartel do Carmo. I have written for you, if you want to show Quartel do Carmo. That's right. And Quartel do Carmo on the 15th of April 1974, as we have said before, Marcelo Caetano, at the time the president of the council, Presidente do Conselho, he took refuge here in Quartel do Carmo, and then surrendered. After the siege by the forces commanded by Captain Salgueiro Maia. So this is the GNR museum as well. You know, the GNR, the police, the
I've
GNR.
walked past this place. Yes, I
And
have. Yeah.
so it's also the GNR museum. And as they have in the site, they have in English, they have learn more about the history of this place and its role in the Carnation Revolution, which ended the dictatorship in Portugal in 1974. So
Wow.
I'm going to tell you the dates where you can book, because on the site you should book your visit. Book, I think, I'm not sure. I think they are free, but it's just a question of, I think they have to know in advance who is going or how many are going. So they started last Thursday. So they started last week. And now, so today is the 15th. Now you can have a guided tour on the 18th or the 19th. So Thursday and Friday, isn't it? And then on the 24th, on the 26th, 29th, and 30th of April. And then on the 9th and 10th of May. So they finish on the 10th of May. So it's always from 11 a.m. to 12. From 11 to noon. And you can have this guided tour in English, and you can find 6 centuries of history in the museum of GNR. And they have a little bit of everything, the uniforms, the guns, the paintings and sculptures and ceramics and furniture and tiles and vehicles and musical instruments, you name it. So you can see everything in this guided tour. And if you can't go to Lisbon to visit Quartel do Carmo and Museu da GNR, you can always have a look at the site and learn. Also, they have some information about the 25th of April, and also about the celebrations. You can have there is one of the options there when you can see the comemorações, the celebrations, and you have even a map of Portugal where you can zoom in and, for example, look in your area, look for the celebrations in your area or nearest to you. There are all sorts of celebrations, and not just on the 25th. They have started a long time ago, and they are going on for a long time. But you have, for example, exhibitions. You have theater plays. You have films. You have music concerts. So all sorts of different kinds of shows. And so you can explore a little bit the website, and you can see that you can find the celebrations near you. Of course, there are lots in Lisbon, but there are others all over the country, a little bit all over the country. You can just find the nearest to you. And
this is great. Really good website. Thank you, Filomena, says Erica. Great website, says Pam. I will be going to various events locally. There's lots happening. The University
yes, there is lots. Yeah.
Great. And I was thinking, why is there nothing happening? It's just we were waiting, weren't we, until April, or just in the couple of weeks or something, it's all coming together.
Things are already happening, but you have to look for them. It's Portugal. We don't advertise, remember?
True. It's true. Advertising, marketing, what's that? Okay.
Yeah, you have to look for it.
I've even seen posters that show the event, but they don't give the date or the location. It's like,
oh wow,
was that this year, next year? What? Anyway, yes, you have to look for it. Yes.
Yeah, you look for it. Yeah, but now you know. You go to that website and you have all the information there. And as I said, you can see the coming celebrations because at least, of course, now in April you have plenty of celebrations. But then also later on, they go on until 2026.
Of course. I mean, not unlike the Carnation Revolution. It wasn't all done, was it, by the 26th of April?
No.
It was a turbulent few years thereafter.
The one-day revolution.
Yeah, okay. We're done now. Well done, everybody. Yes. I think it was quite a turbulent time thereafter. And that's also very interesting as a part of Portuguese history, of course, to see what happened afterwards and people claiming various agendas as a result of the turmoil. What a lovely idea this was, Filomena. how about people share their pictures of themselves in 1974? Because we were alive then. And I just thought it was fascinating. Here's a lovely picture of you. There's Filomena in 1974, everybody.
Maybe
Oh,
a little bit before 1974, maybe.
isn't that wonderful? If everybody wants to do this, that would be wonderful. Pam sent in a picture from
Oh,
1974.
very nice.
There she is in the UK. Little girl, not really knowing what was going on, probably didn't even know about Portugal, let alone a revolution happening here. It might have come on the TV, on the BBC News. There's been a revolution in Portugal, over there in mainland Europe. And there's Bairandi with his brother in 1974. And here you are, Filomena. That's after. Look at you, already teaching.
That's a bit after 1974, maybe 75, no, 76, probably.
But already the teacher, I think. Are you teaching a class there already? Okay, open your books, everybody. That's fantastic.
But by 11, when I was 11,
Yeah,
I've made up my mind that I would like to be a teacher.
I'm not surprised to hear that. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, so if you want to send in your pictures of yourself in 1974, that really, for me, that just kind of frames it, doesn't it? Like, what were we doing in 1974? Where were we? What were we thinking, if anything, at that time? And did we even know? One lovely thing I found out doing the I just landed webinar with Expats Portugal a few weeks ago is as an American couple who I hope to speak to again, maybe make a little film with them, with Andy Klein. And they said, oh yeah, we're now back in the Algarve. First time we came to Portugal was in April in 1974. We landed here on the 25th. I mean, what a date to arrive at the airport. I mean, people complain now about how busy the airport is. I suspect, and it wasn't called Humberto Delgado Airport then, was it? Because of course, that was a later posthumous award. I think,
it's like, for example, the bridge in Lisbon. The bridge was Ponte Salazar.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, the bridge was called Ponte Salazar. And then after that, of course, it started to be Ponte 25 de Abril.
Amazing. And so many other streets and places were named in honor of this amazing revolution that we're remembering on the 25th of this month. Only 10 days away then. So do let us know. Keep those events, things that you're going to, facts about the Carnation Revolution. Let's keep sharing those. I was 4, says Pam. I didn't know anything outside of Manchester. There you are, 4 years of age in Manchester there in black and white. Yeah, for those younger people who weren't alive then, that's the world was in black and white. It was a few years until it became in full color, which was an amazing moment, wasn't it, when the world finally turned into color. Finally had notification of deed date of tomorrow for apartment purchase. Well done. You remember this
Parabéns.
Such a long and painful process. Well, think yourself lucky. You didn't have a revolution to do. You just had to buy a house. Right.
Almost a revolution.
I guess he's verging on a residential revolution for Darren there. So, Filomena, do you want to stay with us a little bit longer? I'm sure James won't mind. It's lovely to be hanging out in your company.
No, I mean, I'm sure James has lots of things to say as well, so I won't interfere. Yeah.
Well, okay, we'll say thank you.
Not an interference for me, but thank you.
Muito obrigado. And love to Paolo, of course. So much love coming in for Paolo. So please let him know that everyone was pouring in their greetings and best wishes.
Thank you.
As melhoras to the man there, and give him a nice big hug and a kiss from us, and abraço, beijinhos from the whole community here. And
Obrigada.
thank you very much for you weren't here on Friday, but you said look, I'll come in on Monday and do it. So
exactly. When you were about to start the show, exactly at that moment when we needed to call the emergency number, and so of course after that I text you saying that unfortunately I couldn't do it.
Of course, and we're so glad he's feeling better. And obviously send our love melhoras to Paolo as well. So thanks again, Filomena. Did you want to say anything to Filomena while we've got it here, James?
It's all basically the same. Best wishes. I'm happy that it turned out much better than it looked at the time. And the thought I just had is, we know that if you're not going to be here on the day you're usually here, something important is going on in an emergency.
Yes, it was the first time ever.
Yes, absolutely.
Luckily, not often that things happen that prevent me from coming.
Absolutely.
But it's always a pleasure to to help other people, and also for them to know a little bit more about Portugal, because you might realize that I love Portugal.
So do we.
We were getting that impression. I don't know what it
Yeah.
was, but we were definitely getting that
There
impression.
is a slight impression that I love Portugal.
Carl, do you think she's Portuguese?
I've got this really strong suspicion. I don't know how to approach the subject, but I will ask Filomena one day. I'm going to just come out with it and accuse her of being deeply Portuguese.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
Filomena, for being here.
So,
Thank you all you do for us.
Have a
Take care.
wonderful week, everyone.
You too. Boa semana e muito obrigado. Ciao, ciao.
Boa
Muito
semana.
obrigado.
Ciao, ciao, James.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Wow, what a legend, living legend in our midst there. Filomena couldn't be here on Friday, but she was here today teaching us those the incredible what were they called? The Unchangeables. Sounds like a rock and roll band, doesn't it?
Now that I'm trying to think of it, it went on my head. Was that demonstrative?
Demonstrativos. Well done.
Yes,
Yes, very good. You were listening. I knew all along. I was just testing you there, my friend. And apparently, Openshaw in Manchester is still in black and white. It didn't make the change. It still looks like that. Apparently.
My brother, when he was about 6, asked my parents once, quite seriously, at 6 years old, he said, "Did they have color when you were children?" Because everything he saw when they're making references to their childhoods was black and white. The movies, the photos, everything. He legitimately asked that question, like he really didn't know.
And then you know things have they went from that stark black and white world, but color isn't what it is now, is it? I mean, if you look at this, and maybe that photo
might have been colorized.
It might have been colorized. It might have been faded. It might have lost something in the process of digitizing it and sending it to us. But that does look very 70s, doesn't it? The colors there, Kodachrome, I think that's also known as there. And now look at us in amazing digital color. But I suspect people will look and laugh at us on the screen if they don't already, James. I suspect they do already. Okay.
I just assume when people are laughing around me, they're laughing at me.
Yes, not with us. Okay, let's keep that laughter going. You sent this in. I just found out it takes 5 sheep to make 1 wool sweater. I didn't even know they knew how to knit. Very good. And also, what's this one? Is this a mindful meme?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, yes. So who's behind all my problems? Oh, we don't like it up us. Oh! No, yes, afraid so, everybody. And on this theme of taking personal responsibility, being here in Portugal, you, of course, with a mindful migration insight or two, I suspect, and Vitor, who likes to speak in this way and see the world in this way too. So I'm sure he'll appreciate that meme. And I missed in the hurly-burly of having Filomena on with us. I missed the earlier comments that you may have sent in. Bon dia, Gambaj. You can do this yourself, can't you? And you can do this yourself. Come on, read this out for us.
Paradise is not a place. It's a state of consciousness, just like happiness.
Let that sink in. All right. And mindful dad joke. From the sublime to the ridiculous.
What do you call a boomerang that doesn't return? A stick.
But right. What you been thinking, James? I mean, both our heads are in quite the overload after those. It felt like, I think there were only maybe 15 to 20 words that Filomena was talking about. It felt like 15 to 20,000 words. My mind is burnt.
There's actually like 6, maybe 12 if you go to the masculine feminine.
Right. So is there any room left in your mind this morning to speak about?
Well, I was thinking about that because I have this relatively new feature. One thing I've learned is like, I just learned one more thing, but that was actually by an instructor, and it may be language overload because the whole point of this idea of one thing I've learned is we can become overwhelmed. Like 6 words can feel like 20. 2 rules can feel like 18. We just get overloaded. So maybe I'll just save that till next week. I feel like maybe we're on language learning overload for today.
Okay.
But,
yes. Fair enough. So go easy on us then. But revelations, recollections, anything else that you've been thinking of a mindful migration variety?
Well, I'm just in this moment. I'm just aware of the perfection of everything. For the first time in over 2 years, as I was considering what might I want to talk about, what's been on my mind, what feels, inspires me to talk, or what is something I'm inspired to talk about. And I was thinking, there's nothing in my mind around that. So I went to some of my notes of ideas I had. I said, nah, not that one, not that one, not that one. And I said, so for the first time in 2.5 years, I came here with I always have a backup, but with this notion of I really don't have anything in mind. And it's just trust it. And then Filomena came on and filled up, 2/3 of the time. So it's like, oh, okay. So I didn't need anything, and I didn't realize I didn't need anything. But there is something briefly that I did look at, because one of the things I'm doing is cataloging all the episodes that we've done. I'm trimming them because I'm preparing for my own channel, which will be called An Old Guy in Europe, by the way.
Nice. Very good.
And so in that, I'm looking at each episode, and I'm just sort of taking some notes on which one is, so that when I go to post something, I already have the content. I don't have to watch it. That's just how my mind is organized. And I recently, yesterday, I think it was, saw 1 or 2 episodes where we talked about privilege and entitlement, and the sort of attitudes that foreigners can bring. And for me, I always add the especially Americans. I don't know that that's fair, but that's my observation of the culture I come from. And
there it is. There is this is Tom's breakfast this morning. And that sums up the American-Portuguese relationship, does it not? Right there on the screen.
Perhaps, yeah. Although even the Coca-Cola is different, because the European Union says, no corn syrup, got to be healthier, even if it's sugar.
Sulfuric acid.
Yes. And Coca-Cola is doing the Homer Simpson. Dope!
Yes. How are we going to get rid of all this aluminium? Come on.
And Europe's going, hoo-ah!
Yes. Hoo-ah. Take that.
So yes, and for this, it's not so much the enactment of those traits that I was looking at. Because something came up, and someone said, they were being very proud about not feeling privileged or not feeling entitled. I don't feel entitled. And I got to think about that. So you don't have to feel it to be it. Right.
Yes.
And that includes intelligence, that includes self-esteem, all these things. I think I am doesn't mean that is actually the way it is.
Yes.
And so, I was looking at the just some of the terms. Believing something or not about yourself is not necessarily being that something or not about yourself. Absolutely. So I looked at privilege. I don't feel privileged. It's like, well, do you have a car? I mean, that's it. Can you eat every day?
Yes.
Do you have fresh water to drink? Do you have a house to live in or rent, or, these are privileges. These are the things that are attributed to privileged people that we just lose track of. So just because I don't feel privileged doesn't mean I'm not privileged. Which can be when you're being mindful. It's like, if I'm talking about being in a certain culture, being in a certain situation, and I don't feel privileged, but I'm talking about my home to someone who can't afford a home, then I'm being insensitive to their situation by virtue of my blindness to my own privilege. Nice. So it's a waking up. Where am I privileged? And you could say I'm privileged because I wake up. I mean, some people are humble enough that it's like, I'm starving to death. I have no clothing. I have no home. I have no parents. There's a war going on, but at least I'm alive. Yes. And some people will feel that, and they'll feel that that's a privilege to be alive. So it's not a function of how much you have or don't have. It's how you fit into that idea of what privilege is. Mm-hmm. So you can have a $5 million home, 25 cars, and 3 yachts and feel like you're not privileged. It's okay. I mean, you can feel that way.
Yes.
because it costs a lot of money and I have to work really hard to have that money. It's like, so that doesn't mean you're not privileged. It just means you have to work hard for the privileges that you claim.
Yeah.
So that's one around privilege. Another one was entitlement, which is very similar. Well, I don't feel entitled. It's like, well, then why do you keep asking why they don't do it your way?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well, why is it better in your country?
Yes.
They don't do these things there. Those kinds of thoughts. Those are entitled thoughts. They're not the way I want them to be. And because I'm important, I should have things the way I want them to be, or they should be, not even I want them to be. They should be this way is a position of entitlement. So again, that same sensitivity, let's look at that. I think, well, I don't know about everybody feels entitled, but there's certain entitlements that we probably all feel in certain areas. So this, just being aware of these terms, just because you don't feel it doesn't mean it's not true about you.
Mhm.
Intelligence is another one that you see a lot. People behave as if they're the smartest person on the planet, and very often we know without even having to research it that they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
So there are those people, which takes me to this place of not this place. I remember years ago I read an article on the relationship between self-esteem and performance.
Oh, go on.
Which informs this whole conversation. And what they found is that the correlationship between self-esteem and performance was negative, basically. It was a negative relationship. The
Really?
people who believed that they were really good performed lower than the people who thought they were really bad.
Really?
Yes. And so that, to me, that was just a measure. And I got to think, well, why would that be? And I didn't see, none of that was in the research, just showing the correlationship in performance. I think it is attributed to that if you think you are, then you don't have to pay attention to it. Like if I'm smart, I don't have to study. But people with low self-esteem is, I'm so stupid, I just have to study all night long.
And try really hard.
I have to really try because I'm just not smart. And so they perform better because they expect, their expectations, they have to do more than what they feel capable of. So the performance then outshines it.
Vitor is gesticulating quite vigorously in the background, and I think he wants to join us on this subject. He's nodding. So should we not let him join us?
Leave him out. Here
he is. Let's bring. He's so desperate to speak on this. I think. Hola, bom dia.
Hola.
Hello.
Bem-vindo.
Right. So
my gesticulation got me here 2 minutes earlier.
Your gesticulation worked for you. I don't know if you were feeling entitled, and then you just said, "I need to be on this screen." Right.
Of course I am. Of course I am.
I would add
what would have happened without me.
Exactly. Excellent discussion. I would add that feeling is different from being. I feel glad to be alive in the face of tragedy versus I have no food and my neighbor does. So why were you gesticulating? You were stimulated by something James said there, Vitor. Go ahead.
Yes, that thing you were talking about being smart and stupid, that just...
I didn't say stupid.
Right, but people think that about themselves, right? And that just came to mind. The book I would rate probably #1 right now, which is Mindset by Carol Dweck. It's all about the 2 types of mindset. And anybody who hasn't listened to it, go on YouTube, type in Mindset by Carol Dweck. And there's a free audio in there. It's not AI, it's an actual person reading. So you have, even if you're the poorest person in the world, if you can see this podcast, you can listen to the audiobook.
Yeah.
And it's all about the 2 different kinds of mindset. The fixed mindset, which is I'm either this or I'm not. And the growth mindset, it's like, doesn't matter how I am, as long as I can work at it, I can improve. And what you were saying is actually something that we've been practicing with our daughter that we learned from the book, which is if you tell, for example, kids, right? If you tell, oh, you're so smart, or you're so this, or, these compliments that are immutable characteristic, that contributes to a fixed mindset. Because what happens is if you say that the child is intelligent, right? Oh, you got good grades because you're so smart. What will happen is that, hey, I'm so smart, I don't need to study. and then maybe someday things will not work out as well. And so what happens is they will actually stop trying, and they will stop, putting in an effort for two reasons. One, they're smart, they don't need it. Two, if they try it and they fail, then they'll get proof they're not smart and they can't have it. What do you do instead? You praise the effort. Like, hey, I saw you got good grades. Probably means you were paying a lot of attention. We use this compliment a lot. Hey, that's great. You paid a lot of attention in this drawing. You are careful. Things that are part of what a person does, right? Because it's like Jim Quick says, your brain is a supercomputer, and the words you tell yourself are the software that runs it. It's the program that operates on it. So
and it doesn't distinguish between what's right and what's wrong. It just puts the data in.
Oh, and it also doesn't recognize the word no or a negative.
Not.
So if you say, oh, don't forget, what's going to stick is a forget. So change that around to, hey, remind to blah, blah, blah.
Oh, so with kids, like
remember,
don't cross the road. It's like stay on the pavement is more helpful, isn't it?
For example, yes.
Stop for the signal. Yes.
This is a very interesting conversation this morning, and am I right in it? Perhaps another way of looking at it, Vitor, is it's the judgment that's the problem rather than the inquiry. And that to me is so helpful. I learned a lot about this with something called access consciousness. That everything is a point of view and has a result, and there is a limitation in us. I mean, that's why I'm a bit uncomfortable about a privileged, not privileged, and entitled and not entitled. It should to me it's all work in progress, and it would be great if we could have a conversation about it, which we are doing, and that's what I sort of pride ourselves on here, is that we're looking at it, which is the important thing. But when we all go straight to judgment, like that person is entitled, that person is privileged, they shouldn't be behaving like that because they've got a car and other people haven't, that's when the problems begin, isn't it? Rather than a sense of inquiry with this, which is presumably much more healthy and functional to be in that sense of inquiry, asking questions rather than coming to very quick judgments.
Yes, and those states are not concrete. Like in a way, they're not even real. They're concepts.
Yeah.
So now we're judging someone based on a concept, based on my definition of what that concept is.
Yes.
As opposed to what's really happening here, and that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Pam, this is a response to something Erica said. Is a response to something that Pam said. So entitlement isn't always bad. Sometimes you have to assert your rights. Agree, Pam. I would add that protection of entitlements. As a woman, I am now entitled to own a credit card. My mother wasn't. And yes, true, says Pam. As women, we need to feel a sense of entitlement to ensure we don't lose our rights. It can happen when people are caught napping. And Frank Libley's here. Good morning, Frank. Focus on what we want to create, not avoid. That sounds helpful. So, Vitor, anything else to add? Are your gesticulations vented now?
That was mostly about the thing about the smart and whatever. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to the entitlements and whatever, I have a kind of a weird take, which I consider almost anything that isn't just your ability to think a privilege, in the sense that, just what Pam was saying right now, that when she was saying that women need to feel a sense of entitlement and this and that, it's, I consider, what we have, something that we need to always fight for, right? So I don't consider it an entitlement, like I'm not entitled to a house, to food, to water, or anything. I actually have to fight for it, right? It's a privilege that I get access to these things. They won't always be there. They're there because me, other people, systems, plumbing, whatever, grants us the ability to have it. So, and I think that thinking this way for me personally makes it so that I give things more value. I appreciate them more because I know that they're not granted, right? We live now in a society where everything is basically at our doorstep. We like pretty much nothing. There is, I believe, there is actually no food scarcity in the world. It's just that we don't really have the ways of making it
Distribution.
reach
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah,
Right.
Mm.
So, but imagine that we end up in a movie scenario, right? Or something big happens, or something blows up, or whatever, or we have a huge EMP blast from the sun, and all electricity gets cut out.
Looking on the
What
bright
happens-
side.
Yeah, what happens then, right? Like, we can lose access to everything we have right now, and so when it comes to entitlement versus privilege, almost anything you ask me, I will consider it most likely a privilege. I am entitled to my thoughts. I am entitled to my actions. Doesn't mean that what will happen back is going to be positive, right? But I'm entitled to choose how I act, and that's about it.
Yeah, but very interesting.
Yeah,
Okay. Sorry, let me just do this very
Sure.
quickly, James. Interesting to look at the original Latin for privilege. The Latin is privilegium, meaning a law for just one person, a benefit enjoyed by a person or group beyond that available to others, and sometimes at the expense of others as well. Agree, says Erica, with you, Vitor. Our entitlements can be legislated away at any moment. Appreciate and protect. Yeah, I mean that's as noble, I guess, or aspirational as human rights, for example, are. People should have that. We do tend to find out, don't we, that they do and can be taken away, which doesn't mean we shouldn't fight or work towards having these great things in place for people. But I don't think we can take our eye off the ball, as I think is being said here. Just because we think they should be doesn't mean they always will be, or that others might agree on that. I would say entitled, says Joao de Norte, is something more like entitled to dignity and respect. I suppose, like you were saying, Vitor, about your thoughts. The inner things are entitlements, perhaps, and the outer things, as Joao de Norte seems to be saying here, possessions such as a credit card or a car are not entitlements. They are things that get worked for, and we can be grateful for once we've got them. And of course, we can work for other people to have them as well, can't we? If we so wish, and extend that to other people. Sorry, James, go ahead.
Well, it goes probably back even farther than this, but the whole notion of the rights of humanity, or the rights of man as they were originally created, especially in United States legislation, the Constitution, it says inalienable rights, which means they're just a part of being human. These are our rights, and that can be sometimes the same as entitlements, like we're entitled to our rights. And in that case, in that situation, first of all, I just really want to appreciate the conversation around being entitled, because I hadn't thought it through, but there are certain entitlements that are assured to us by our nature, human rights, or by law that says you, as citizens of this country, have the right to these things. If you're being denied those, then you legitimately can claim entitlement to them, right? So I am entitled to that, but it's by virtue of the external circumstances. So if I were to make the distinction, I'd say the entitlement I'm talking about is when you believe you have those constitutional or humanitarian entitlements, but you don't. Like, I'm entitled to have a mansion by virtue of that I exist, as opposed to what Vitor was saying is I worked really hard to earn an income. I made those choices to have that thing. I wasn't entitled to it. I earned it. And that's the difference.
Very good. Thank you, James. Any more to say on this, Vitor, before we move on and talk about your new course, which of course is a privilege and not an entitlement?
That creams my cheese.
Oh.
Well,
a Portuguese idiom that we're not.
I'll let you think that it is, yes.
It's a showstopper, that's for sure. Right. Okay. I'm sure further comments will come in on the subject that I didn't know we were going to be talking about this morning, but that's the beauty of the great big breakfast show here on Good Morning Portugal. A note, the USA has never ratified human rights. There's no right to housing, food, or health. Thankfully, Portugal has ratified, which incidentally still doesn't mean that people's bellies get filled, but it's a good aspirational thing for sure, isn't it? To be moving in that direction.
Well, at least you can then say I'm entitled to these things by law, right?
Oh,
I'm entitled to them.
Yep, Erica, add to that list healthcare as well. Frank, right on. A finger in the air there from Erica to you. Frank, thanks for joining us this morning, Mr. Nibley. Good to have you here. And you've reminded me, gentlemen, what do you think about having one of these in your area? An Oficina de Homens, men's shed of San Martino. That's starting this Wednesday. A shed is a community space for everyone to create, converse, and connect. I've written an article about it over the weekend. I found out more about the men's shed movement, which I think started in the 1980s in Australia. It gets you out of the house to meet new friends and learn a new skill. We talked about it a little bit a couple of weeks ago when Josh was on the show. A great way for men to be together and bond and make pals, especially useful, I think, for people who've distanced themselves from their original friend group, from their country of origin. And it's shoulder to shoulder rather than the scary stuff of talking face to face about our feelings. You know, that sort of stuff, James. Men, it turns out, prefer to be shoulder to shoulder rather than face to face.
Yes.
Josh was saying in a circle of chairs, people tend to men specifically turn the chairs so they're shoulder to shoulder and looking at something rather than each other. Isn't that interesting? So the men.
Yes, and I've counseled many mothers who have sons, especially teenage sons, who they felt were being distant and they couldn't connect with them. I said, well, try having a conversation while you're driving, and you're both facing forward, or while you're taking a walk. Or, you know, the traditional American thing is toss a baseball, you know, like have a conversation while you're doing something and or side by side, and it will be much more effective.
Very good.
Yep.
Very
Yep.
good.
Man bond by two things, I think, by working on something or doing something and insulting each other.
Yes, right. Oh, so come on, you idiot. Tell us about this language thing. I'm sorry. Here we are.
Okay, I gotta keep my brand, so I'm not gonna do that.
Right. Okay, you have.
And truthfully, I've never enjoyed that aspect of being a male. Generally, it's uncomfortable for me, and I don't enjoy doing it. But if I want to be part of the club, then I sort of have to join.
Sure.
That kind of feeling for me.
I think there are different intensities, though. There have certainly been points where you threw like some random remark about a friend, or like about time you're here, you want to watch or something like that, like for your birthday. Probably that's the Portuguese friends. I don't know.
Yes.
You know what time it is? Time to get a new watch.
That's right. Yeah. Or good afternoon. Right. Thank you for turning up. Yes.
What's a watch?
But yeah, Carl, I mean, to your point, yes, like we've been thinking and reflecting and taking a look at, you know, what we have to offer and how the challenges of people that come here into Portugal face. And so we realized that we're kind of fed up. What are we fed up with? We're fed up with, we were kind of settling ourselves. And we started noticing that, you know, when we settle, we basically stagnate. There are many people who have come here. They, you know, they're having troubles with Portuguese, as I'm sure you're well aware of. You're probably more in touch with the community than we are. But we realized that, you know, for that to break through, big steps need to be made. So that's why, you know, Marie and I, and this is mostly her project, to be fair, decided to create an intensive 1-month boot camp, so that people can really, you know, it's not a matter of, hey, let's just have a certain number of lessons and then you just basically pay for a Portuguese lesson and you're kind of like in group hangout and you're having fun and speaking a bit of Portuguese here and there. And then years go by and you're like barely better than you were when you began, right? Of course, you always improve a little bit. So what the idea behind this is that it's going to be an intensive 1 month. It's going to require an average, we estimate about 30 to 60 minutes per day. The way it's going to work is we'll give you a calendar, and each day of the calendar, there will be, you know, as it's right there, there will be speaking, then you'd be reading, then you'd be writing, or rather, you'd start with listening, of course. This is also geared towards beginners, like somebody who doesn't know anything about Portuguese or they know little about Portuguese. I'm sure that people who are already in Portuguese will still benefit from this because it's going to be, very custom. And another thing is that we're going to prepare audios so that each week, as you're doing something, as you're driving, as you're doing the dishes or whatever, the idea is to put that audio in the background. So you start immersing yourself and you're getting in on it. So you're doing work, you're, watching TV or whatever, maybe not watching TV, that will be a bit confusing, but you're doing something, you put that in the background on a loop so you get used to it. And then that audio will then get analyzed and studied. And it's also broken down so that each week will kind of be a different topic, right? Maybe going grocery shopping or booking an appointment for something. I'm not going to tell everything here, right? So people who sign up will see everything it has to offer, and we're going to have many bonuses. There will be people there that, some people here know. We also have group sessions on Friday, but all this to say, I told you everything, what it's going to be, but our focus is on the results.
Yes. Well, that
Like
seems to be the big difference. That seems to be the big
Yes.
difference. It's not as if there's a shortage of ways of learning European Portuguese. I mean,
Yes.
there is no shortage of resources. And it comes back to what you were talking about before, I think, about mindset and
Yes.
and accountability. That you could say is missing from the discussion about learning Portuguese is, more about the psychology and the mindset, and definitely about, okay, let's do this and let's have a bit of accountability. And this is where I'm cutting and pasting this from the resources you've sent me, or the explanation behind the new course that you and Maria, or mainly Maria, are creating for us here. I listen to my clients and students' requests and pains, the pains especially, I suspect. That's it. Either we commit or commit. One or the other, which basically means commit. No more excuses. I don't want to dedicate 9 months, said one. I just want to learn to know the basics. I think that's a very common pain or request. I don't know what to do or where to start. Where can I learn European Portuguese? So you've come up with a formula. You, me, and 14 other people. That's Maria talking here, isn't it? You, me, and 14 other people pushing each other. Accountability group. So it's not for people who are just tum-ti-tum, I'll have a little go at this. This is for people who really want to do it and will hold each other to account with this. Definitely missing from the European Portuguese tuition scene. 1 30-day calendar, 5 days a week of exercises from listening, writing, grammar, and speaking, reviews, feedback, and accountability on the exercises above. 1 online group meeting per week, and you'll be mastering the basics, survival verbs, and everyday scenarios. So I'm liking the cut of this. She goes on to say, this is what you need for the course, and this is how much it's going to cost for people to get involved. It's 100% commitment, as you said there. Don't do it if you don't intend to throw yourself at it, right?
Yes. This is
joining a health
definitely
club.
Yes.
Yes. This is definitely meant. If you want to take a decision, take a deep breath, take a big sprint, boost your Portuguese, and then later on, if you want to take another one, you'll take another one. But this is meant really to push you to the next level. Get you out of the place of complacency and comfort. And I can share my personal experience with this, right? So when I was starting to learn Chinese, right, I've been doing Duolingo for a little while and all of those, select the right answer and whatever. And okay, I started understanding a few things. Then one day, I met this lady on Facebook. She's a Chinese teacher, and she also is developing one of these really intense Chinese courses. And she was offering a 5-day free boot camp. And I was like, hey, I'm going to try it out. Why not? For the entire 5 days, I felt like I was drowning and trying to breathe with a very thin straw, right? Because on the first time, and keep in mind, I knew next to nothing about Chinese. I hadn't really practiced listening or speaking or anything like that. And the first thing she tells me to do is she wrote me like 3 or 4 pages of my self-introduction as a real estate agent and whatever. Words and characters that I never seen in Chinese. And I had until the next day to read all of it and send it to her in voice.
Wow.
Now, it was very painful throughout the whole time, very uncomfortable. Again, I felt like I was drowning the entire time, but I was so much better at Chinese when I ended it.
But this isn't going to be quite as intense. I mean,
I don't think so. No, Maria's a bit softer. That is true. But if we feel like people are not behaving, we're going to pull out the whips as well.
Are you?
Maybe on a future one. But the idea is still is to push you just beyond your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't matter what we do. All we care about is that at the end of the course, you either tell us, thank you so much. My Portuguese is a lot better. I understand conversations now, and I can converse basic communication with people. Or you tell us, hey, you know what? I don't feel like I improved. I'd like my money back, please.
And will you give them their money back, or just give them a complaints book?
As long as they work.
Okay.
So if
make
you
them ask for it in Portuguese.
You've got to ask in Portuguese.
Yes, of course. That will be another requirement. Yeah. No, but every day is gonna have homework. You can take the weekends off if you want, of course, but every day is going to have a homework, provided you do at least 90%, and you did not improve your Portuguese. Then yes, we will give you your money back.
Very good. Okay. I'm liking the sound of this. It's not for everyone. Okay. And I guess you'll be carefully qualifying people who you think won't be. The
spots are limited. So at the moment, we're sharing. I believe this is the first time we really go public with this announcement. So people here get dibs on the first spots.
Right.
I don't know if you want to share the link in case anybody wants to.
I will do that. And I'm tempted, but I don't want to get my butt kicked. But I could be talked into it by other people who want to do it.
Shoulder
to shoulder, rather than face to face. I will. Well, it'll be both, won't it? It'll be face to face and shoulder to shoulder. This is what Maria is saying. I will be your Portuguese resource for 30 days, and I promise you that if you follow my guidance and go all in, you will know how to survive speaking in Portuguese. I will be launching this challenge online in the next few weeks. Thank you for the scoop on this, by the way, Vitor and Maria. I wanted to let you know first, feel free to share if you know someone that would benefit from this challenge. This beginner 30-day challenge is set to start on the 29th of April. So we've got a couple of weeks and we'll have the celebrations of the Carnation Revolution under our belt, and it will end in the last week of May. And there better be a good party at the end of this. The requirements then are 100% commitment, as we said, internet connection. Obviously, you need to get online to be able to do a lot of this, and presumably, by phone as well, smartphone and internet connection. And for the princely sum, it sounds like quite good value to me for 4 weeks. 25 euros a week thereabouts is just a little bit more than some people are paying for an hourly lesson with somebody. I think if
per hour.
Some people are paying 20 euros, aren't they, for a one?
Oh yeah. No, yeah. I mean that's the idea here, right? So we wanted to make this a little bit more accessible, because again, this is for beginners, right? We want to, of course, we're a business. We need to make money. We need to pay our bills. We need to feed our daughter, our 3 dogs, cat, and 2 chickens. But we also want to feel like we're helping the community, right? And the reality is there are many people who still struggle with Portuguese. Ooh, 50 quid.
Actually, 50,000 rupiah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, have 50,000, Vitor, towards all of that you just said. It's worth
nice.
€2.91. I looked it up last night, but it sounds like a lot. Sorry, I interrupted you with.
No problem. Yeah, but that's the thing, right? So if this gets people's foot in the door, then we'll do the next course for 20,000 or something. We'll see. We're still debating numbers. But yeah, I mean, it's to get people started, to give them a place to launch off of, and then we will see where we go from there. If we make another course, if we keep the same price, lower, raise, or if we make it online on demand, which isn't as effective, because the most important thing really is the accountability.
Absolutely.
It's people keeping on top of each other, because we are terrible at keeping promises to ourselves, right? You
Yes.
say, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to write that book, I'm going to make that video, but they don't really feel like it today, right? And I mean, what's going to happen? Come on, man. You can take a day off today.
That's right. That's right. And that can be part of going back to the sort of, men's shed thing. That it can be gentle, can't it? The encouragement, or sometimes a bit of ball busting can be useful, especially if there's something you want to achieve. And I've been here for nearly 7 years, and I would have expected my Portuguese to be a lot better than it is by now. And the reason for that is what you've just said, is because I haven't I haven't committed and applied myself in the way that is possible and that would get results. So well done on doing this. Like I said, I think it is missing from the scene, this level of accountability. And it's not going to be for everybody, is it? It's not going to be for everyone who wants to.
No, I don't think so. No.
Going on. But for those who really want to make some progress, I think it's ideal.
Yeah. And I think some people just, want to learn the basics, but they're not really interested in really knowing how to speak Portuguese, which, I understand. Everybody's different. Like nowadays, it's becoming easier and easier to not even need to speak another language. Like even YouTube now, they're developing. I don't know if I should be saying this or if my friend had to sign an NDA to do this, but basically even YouTube now is working with an AI that you upload your videos, audio to that AI, it will dub and translate and subtitle the video in your own voice in another language that you don't even need to speak. I don't know about other phones, but even the new Samsung Galaxy S24, when you make a phone call, you can turn on automatic AI translation. The person on the other end of the line will say, hey, this call is going to be translated by AI. And so let's say you go to, I don't know, China. We're talking about Chinese, right? You don't speak Chinese. You call a taxi driver. And then you speak in English, Portuguese, whatever. It will translate to Chinese. The other person will hear Chinese. They will reply in Chinese, and you'll hear it in your language. This is already existing, by the way. This is already happening.
This is what Paul was talking about last week, the Mind Kettle, is it? With simultaneous translation with an earpiece. Time Kettle. And what a world that would be. And is that a privilege or an entitlement? It's really weird, isn't it? It's a real privilege. It's an absolute privilege to have that level of technology going on. And it just seems a little bit like a cheat as well, doesn't it? It not doing the hard work from which great benefit can come as well. But very interesting.
Would you like to hear my thoughts on that, or are we running out of time?
No, you and James. Let's kind of wrap up now on that note.
Right. So wrapping up on that, when you're talking about cheat or whatever, and particularly when AI came to the scene, and I saw a lot of people complaining about taking out jobs and whatever. Here's what I think.
Yeah.
I believe that the greatest human strength is our imagination and creativity. So what happens is that a lot of people have settled in doing physical labor and manual labor, and I'm not putting that down at all. And I know how much effort it takes, but the human body really is best used, for the creativity, coming up with ideas, solutions, new things, expression. And so any tool that would allow us and free us from doing the physical labor so we can use our minds more, in my opinion, is a good thing. I personally love learning languages. I love learning cultures, so I will keep doing that. But there are things where, maybe we start using technology instead of us more so that we can be more productive. Like, having this contacts in here instead of in a phone book. If I need to make a phone call to you, instead of memorizing your number or going through pages and pages and finding the letter C, I just type in here the Muffin Man, and
is that what you call me behind
my
back?
No, it's not. Right. I think I have it as Carlos Munson, but yeah,
very
know
good.
what I mean. So
and you can just say to your phone, can't you? Call Carlos, and the phone says which one. I've got 3.
Yes,
Carlos.
And then it phones a random company it found on Google. Yes, but
yes.
Call João.
Call João. Oh, I'll do it myself. Forget it. Right. Thank you, Vitor, for your insight on that. Always a pleasure to talk to you, and we'll do that again in a month's time or thereabouts. And good luck with the new course. Slugs, friend James, what do you think on this?
Well, when it comes to learning language, my own experience, and I believe what I've heard in terms of other teachers around learning languages, translations don't really help you to learn.
Right.
because it makes the route really easy. It just does it for you. So you may learn a little, but you're not going to learn near as much as if you actually apply yourself to speaking and listening and learning it. Dedicated time and commitment is where you're going to learn. Translations, on the other hand, because I was thinking about this, like, well, what if I go to another country, you know, and I have this feeling being in Portugal, I should speak the language of every country in Europe. It's like, that's not going to happen. So that's where the translators can really be helpful. If you're visiting as a tourist, there is no expectation that you speak that language. So translators can be very helpful to expedite things that otherwise wouldn't get done. So there's a place for translation, but it's not in the learning so much. You're not going to learn by translating.
Yep. Okay, thank you very much for that. Just a couple more things. Erica, we'll have to carry this over to tomorrow. Happy birthday to Mr. K. Good morning, late arriving this morning. Anyone on the topic of perks for the 65 plus crowd? Because Mr. K has reached that threshold. We'll talk more about that. And I think Antonio has been very helpful, as usual, over on the Portugal Club where you posted that. And in case you're wondering where the God Squad tip of the day was, Coach Turner is on his way to Portugal in his Porsche. Portugal. See what he did there.
Portugal.
No God Squad tip of the day this week, but hopefully a few video clips of beautiful places. Have a great day. We'll see you soon, Coach T, with that. And we'll see everybody tomorrow with the Keen to Crew on a Tuesday. Good luck with that course. I'll put the link on the screen. And as Pam is saying, reminding us, there's no shortage of resources to learn Portuguese. You have to put the hours in. There you go. Putting the hours in, being committed, and having some accountability. I think Vitor and Maria have nailed that. James, great job today. Vitor, excellent job today. And love to Maria. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye for now. And have fun today out there. Speak a little bit of Portuguese, everybody. Ciao, ciao. And bye for now.